And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, we're just 11 days away from the New York primaries. And on the Republican side, Donald Trump, well, he wants to make sure the voters remember what Ted Cruz said about, quote, New York values. Take a look.
Everyone understands that the values in New York City focus around money and the media.
I saw something that no place on earth could have handled more beautifully, more humanely than New York.
And last night, during an interview, Senator Ted Cruz stood by his remarks and said people knew what he meant. Take a look.
Everyone in New York and outside of New York knows exactly what I meant by that. And it is the liberal values of Democratic politicians who have been hammering the people of New York for decades. They've suffered under these liberal values. It's been politicians like Governor Andrew Cuomo, like Hillary Clinton, like Mayor Bill de Blasio.
All right, is he right? Well, yesterday, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani told the New York Post that he will be voting for Trump on the 19th, but he did stop short of fully endorsing him. And when it came to Senator Cruz's comments, Giuliani said, quote, "It's New York City. We're family. I can make fun of New York, but you can't." I know he was attacking liberal Democratic values. I know. I fought to change those policies in areas like welfare reform and policing, as did Mayor Bloomberg, but there was a better way to say it. Joining us now with reaction, author David Limbaugh, and from the Trump Organization, Michael Cohen. And, of course, you know her. She is the co-host of The Five, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Is that going to be a big issue?
Yeah, I mean, it offended me right away, to be honest. I mean, I don't know why he thought that that was a good idea, because eventually you got to come to New York and should try to get all the states and not alienate, voters. So this is something that I think Trump is able to capitalize on, and he should. He should ride it all the way through to the New York primary.
Well, he wants to get 50% plus one in New York. He wants
this will help him.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's going to get more than 50%. And I'll tell you, I don't understand Ted Cruz's comment. If you think about it, other than Bill de Blasio now as mayor, before that for 20 years, we were run under Republicans, both Giuliani and, of course, Mike Bloomberg. So I'm not really sure what Democratic values he was even referring to.
Yeah. David, your thoughts. Does that make a big difference? If Trump takes the majority of the 95 delegates in New York, that goes a long way to making it then mathematically impossible for Cruz to get to 1237.
Yeah, and Kimberly, you know I love you. I don't think I've ever disagreed with you, but this to me is a blown-up issue from Trump, who I think is faltering after having lost Wisconsin, the negatives on women, the overall negatives, the fact that Cruz has done better since Rubio dropped out. There's all these signs. Now, everyone knows, including Rudy, that Ted was only talking about liberal values. This is a GOP primary, for goodness sake. We're talking about New York with its confiscatory taxes, its transgender bathrooms, its multiculturalism. Surely we can be the defenders of liberty in a New York primary without worrying about political correctness. Donald Trump stands for political correctness, and yet he's pretending to be offended by this comment of Ted Cruz when everyone knows it wasn't directed at the 9/11 first responders. It wasn't directed at GOP conservatives or Republicans. It was directed purely and simply at liberal values, which Donald Trump brought up in an interview with Tim Russert in 1999, which he couched in his pro-choice message at the time.
Yeah, why are we talking about 1990? Why are we talking about 1999, Sean? We're talking about it. This happened at the debate when Ted Cruz brought it up, and I believe Donald Trump was immediately, as was I as a New Yorker who lost many friends in the World Trade Center attack, he was offended, and I think all New Yorkers were offended. And the interesting thing is he brings up Wisconsin also. Why are you talking about Wisconsin? You're making it seem as if though the entire race is hinging upon, Wisconsin and its delegates.
You know the context I brought Wisconsin up. The momentum has shifted to Ted Cruz. That's the context, and we're talking about pure liberalism. I don't. The idea that you guys are offended by this is laughable to me. You guys are talking as if you've already won the race. Like I said the other day, be very careful what you say, because the victory lap is really far away for Ted Cruz.
All right, let me jump in and bring up.
Let's quit acting like this.
All right, David, you want to finish your thought? Go ahead.
Well, let's quit acting like this is a high school debate where we have to take a position because we're required to be affirmative or negative. The truth is, we know what we're talking about.
The truth is, you're the one who's taking on that posture, and I'm just responding to it.
Let me actually go to an area.
But I'm just responding to it. You're taking on a posture where you're attacking Donald Trump. You're turning around and you make it seem as if though Wisconsin is the end-all, be-all for this election.
Well, Wisconsin's in the rear-view mirror now. That's the deal.
Let me go to an issue that I think you guys are actually going to agree on. You know, if you look at John Boehner's comments talking about a contested convention, and he brings up, oh, anybody's name can be nominated on the convention floor, and Karl Rove saying, well, we need somebody who's battle-tested, strong conservative principles, a fresh face. He's talking specifically about somebody that hasn't run. Scott Walker has said it in a meeting in New York. John Kasich's campaign is based on it, and others have said it as well. Now, they don't make up the rules of the convention until all the voting is over.
Right.
Do you think that there's a possibility the establishment will try to disenfranchise voters of Trump and Cruz?
Yeah, I think there's a real distinct possibility that could happen. I think it would be a big mistake to fracture the party that way. This has been such a historic primary season. Yes, it's had its ups and downs, but what we have seen is a large volume of voter turnout, enthusiasm, people really standing for wanting positive change and not Washington politics as usual. Why wouldn't you embrace that, make a big tent, carry that forward to the convention, and honor the votes that have been cast?
You and I are saying the same thing, because at the end of the day, if they don't unite, it's going to open the door for Hillary.
And all that's going to happen, Sean, is I agree with her 100%. And Donald Trump is that guy. He's the guy that seems to be the one that's bringing out the voters. Not just Republicans, but independents and Democrats. Why would you shoot the best messenger that the Republican Party has had in a long, long time?
What do you think, David? Because I know that, for example, people will use Wisconsin as an example. Scott Walker got on board. He had the infrastructure in that state. It certainly didn't hurt Ted Cruz on his path to victory there. But here's the question. I get the impression that they're not talking about, well, stopping Trump to help Cruz, that they would sooner jump over both of them, leapfrog over both of them, and bring in, you know, some other third person, a Paul Ryan or somebody, and disenfranchise everybody.
There are certain people in the Republican Party who fantasize about that, who hate both Trump and Cruz. But I don't think it's a realistic possibility. As Newt says, when those two, Trump and Cruz, have received some 80% of the delegates and 80% of the votes, it's not realistic. Reince Priebus is talking about it not being realistic. There's no monolithic force in the GOP establishment that is set out to do that. I think they know better to do that. It would be the end of the Republican Party. I think the problem with talking about this so much, and people can talk all they want about it, is that it obscures the fact that there can be a genuine fight in the convention if nobody ends up with 1237 going in. And I want there to be a fair fight. Cruz and Trump can fight after the first ballot, after the second ballot, in a fair way, legitimate way, in a way that regards process and the law and the rules. And whoever wins is legitimate, as long as there's no shenanigans pulled. And I don't want it to be perceived, if Ted Cruz ends up winning because he pays attention to details, that he was part of the establishment.
By the way, I agree. I think it would be the absolute end of the Republican Party. I think that Reince Priebus knows it. I think everybody knows it. And I think if Mr. Trump, number one, I think he's going to actually get to 1237 when you take New York and California, which he should do, not to mention the Northeast. This is his territory. So he's the one who has the momentum right now.
All right. Thank you all for being with us. Good to see you.